Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the fourth episode in this current series of The Adventures of Ace, reviewing all of Ace's stories. In today's video, I have a guest for the first time in this series. I am reviewing Silver Nemesis with Rory Guest, aka Rassilon Productions, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Today, I'm here with Rory Guest, or Rassilon Productions, yeah. We're reviewing Silver Nemesis, which I don't know whether that's a compliment to me. Yeah. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I go by Rassilon Productions on Twitter. I produce audios and recently started a podcast-style series called A Talk With, in which I've had guests such as Jed T. Rhodes, George Gadira, Abby Louise, Jack Reeves, and Mr. TARDIS. I produce audios mainly, that's my main source of content. I was on the Comic Con panel with Jack Reeves, and yeah, I've just, I do my thing, and yeah.
He's very good at it, if you haven't seen his content. Let's get into the review.
Indeed.
So, Silver Nemesis.
Silver Nemesis, what an episode.
Yeah, the 25th anniversary story of Doctor Who. And actually, I hadn't realised until I watched it the first time that the first episode was actually on November 23rd. I thought it was like fairly close, because the thing that kind of annoyed me about the Five Doctors when I first watched it was like, it's the 20th anniversary, but it's like 2 days after the actual 20th anniversary. I mean, when I first watched the Three Doctors, which was actually after when I first watched the Five Doctors, it was like, it's January 1973, December 1972. It's the 10th. It's meant to be the 10th anniversary of the show. It's not on 10th anniversary.
I think it was definitely kind of a staple of the classic anniversaries that it wouldn't be on the anniversary day. Just a decision, but yeah.
I think that was, for the Three Doctors, I think that was kind of because it would have been more or less an entire year for another series of Doctor Who for that to be there. And actually, the part one of the Time Warrior is actually closer to the 10th anniversary than Three Doctors is. So we have that's new, and that's kind of cool. And obviously in the first part, a title card comes up, which is kind of weird. Like, I know obviously it comes up with part one or whatever, that always comes up, but it comes up with, what's it say, the 22nd of November, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's got this episode is very unique. I do love part one. I think it sets up a lot, and it's got a great cliffhanger, which I'll get onto. But it sets up a lot of characters quite early on. It's relatively enjoyable. I do really enjoy it. I think you've got all the stuff with the Queen and her corgis, but one thing that I really love about the start of episode one is that you have the Doctor and Ace just enjoying life. You have them enjoying their time together. You don't really get that with much classic Who, where you cut to them just kind of like they're just there enjoying a live jazz concert, and like with the basket there. It's a unique start to an episode.
I agree with you. It's it does kind of feel like if they'd have, obviously it wouldn't have fitted with the anniversary, but if they'd have put it on the end of season 24, it wouldn't have felt out of place, really.
Yeah,
I feel like even McCoy seems slightly different.
And I think it's a great. It would be a great starting point for their dynamic, the Doctor and Ace, introducing them to the audience after Dragonfire. But I think I think it's a really great opening. I think it, and we find out that he launched the weapon base, and it's all kind of, there's a lot of plot heavy details after like they get ambushed.
Yeah, so maybe it wouldn't feel right tacked onto the end of season 24 then, because it's all about. I mean, the Cartmel master plan is very much present in this story. Everything is. I mean, it's sort of in Remembrance. It is sort of there, but Remembrance is so good that it almost doesn't feel like you need to know all that stuff.
What I love about this story is the Cartmel stuff. I do love the inclusion of Lady Painful, who was expanded upon in extended media, and she was revealed, I believe it was in Lungbarrow, she was revealed to be a descendant, not a descendant, well, I think actually it might have been a descendant of the Pythia, who, the descendants of the Pythia are the Sisterhood of Khan, which explains where Lady Painful got all of her information and magic from.
Yeah, she's well played, I think. Some parts she does seem a bit more pantomime villain, but I don't know. Maybe it's her dialogue being slightly different. Because what's it in? It's meant to be in sort of, most of it's meant to be in iambic pentameter, which I think I said right. So she does seem different, and that part of the story I quite like. She obviously she's very, very different to the rest of the characters.
Yeah, it's certainly a unique. She's a unique character, and a lot of people say that this episode is overcrowded. But I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. It doesn't feel like
it. By the end of the story, it kind of feels like all of it kind of fits into place. I think. Then, of course, with the neo-Nazis, which were introduced in the first part as well, I believe.
Yeah, it's at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, and when they're introduced, of course, they're kind of the side villains of it all, alongside the Sidemen. They're all they can be all classed as kind of side villains at the end of the day. I mean, the Sidemen are they don't really have that much impact on the plot at all, really. If you look at it, really. I mean, no neo-Nazis. It's really the main plot mainly revolves around Lady Painful and Doctor. That's where it all heads around, and I think they do a great job of kind of centering it around those two characters. And the Sidemen are a great inclusion as well, I think, and I think that they do make for great battles between them and the neo-Nazis. I think it does set them up as really powerful.
Yeah, they're really good in this story, actually. For like you say, the small amount that they're in it, well, they are in it quite a bit, but actually doing stuff, they're really good. And especially the battle at the beginning of part 2 is really good. I think it's good that the neo-Nazis are in there, because sort of it makes the cliffhanger better, actually, because you think, oh, they're going to be the villains, and then all of a sudden the spaceship lands and out come the Sidemen, which is a very good cliffhanger. But that shot they use at the end is weird, like the one right at the door where the Cybermen are coming out, not the big wide shot, the close up, seems a bit like that they should have been further out, but I think that was because of the set limitations.
And budget limitations as well, I think. But it does make for an inspired and really incredible cliffhanger with like the Doctor telling Ace, "Don't thank them yet. They will kill you without thinking about it." Like, because Ace thinks, "Oh, she's been saved. Oh no, wait, there's a worse threat incoming." I think there's a lot to this story, and I think it can be quite overwhelming for quite a lot of people. But I personally do really enjoy it. I think it's not necessarily. I think there are certain criteria that I follow for Doctor Who. If it's a good story, then it will have good Doctor companion moments. It will be enjoyable. It won't be boring. It'll have an entertaining villain, and by the end of the episode, you'll feel like you've earned that good experience. You've felt like you've been on a journey.
Yeah.
For a great Doctor Who episode, it has to be well written. Well-written villains, well-written characters throughout, and by the end of the episode, you kind of have to earn that ending. You kind of have to, feel like you've just watched something that, where the characters have progressed naturally. I think there is a difference between that and a great and a good episode of Doctor Who, because sometimes you don't have well-written characters. Sometimes you don't feel like you've earned the ending that you get. But it's still an entertaining watch with entertaining character moments and entertaining characters. I think this is a distinct mix of both. It's it's got great character moments between the Doctor and Ace. It's got good villains. To a degree, I would say that some are more well written than others.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of lore to it. It's got and it carries that kind of well. I love the moments between Lady Painful and her supposed descendant. Oh no, is she supposed to be the descendant? I swear, she is.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be distant relatives, which that was a nice dynamic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think overall it was a decent watch.
Yeah.
It was never boring.
No, you couldn't say Silver Nemesis is boring.
Oh, definitely not. And I love the villains. I love the cast. I loved lore that it added to this show. And the final confrontation between the Doctor and Lady Painful is one of the best, like, just moments from Classic Who with him, like, saying...
Yeah, I think in hindsight, if you'd watched from the beginning of, like, Time and Rani, and then you'd watch this, and then eventually Fenric, where that kind of ends... that confrontation would have had a lot more impact, because there was a lot of stuff said in there which obviously I mean a bit in Survival as well, but more Fenric obviously about the chess set and all that.
It's very similar to Remembrance, this story. I think that's
I'd say that,
and I think Remembrance does do all these plot elements a lot better. And I think even like the neo-Nazis that could be placed in Remembrance. I think a lot of the enemy agents and spies, and I think I think it does a lot better at everything. It is quite unfortunate that they're both in the same season, because if they were in separate seasons, I think it would have been a lot better, and especially since I feel like it needed just one or two more parts.
I'd say if this was a 4-part story, although actually the extended VHS version, wasn't that all an omnibus? I don't know, I haven't got it, but wasn't that all stitched together?
I'm not sure, I haven't seen the extended version, but I'll keep an eye out for it. I think also Nemesis makes for a great plot device as well. Great. Yeah,
I like the they're using the same stuff that they do in the Green Death, don't they? That makes it glow white, which looks spectacular actually, and especially that shot where the Doctor's like stood behind the statue and he's put the bow in it. That looks particularly good.
Yeah, and it's a good looking episode, even with some budget restrictions here and there, kind of limiting it here and there. But I think that's something you've got to get used to with Doctor Who. It's not something that you don't expect an episode of Classic Who to be flawless, special effects or even like set wise, and I think that adds to its charm. I think this is no exception. I think there's great performances all round as well. I think especially from Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred. I think they
particularly Sophie. I think she's particularly good in this one. She does kind of seem closer to her sort of Dragonfire type stuff. She does seem more like a teenager in this one, whereas in Remembrance, although she does kind of feel like a teenager still, she does feel like she's, all the stuff with the rocket launcher and stuff kind of makes her feel like slightly older than a teenager, if you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying, and I think another bit of criticism I hear a lot about Silver Nemesis is that you could replace the Cybermen with Daleks and it'd be the same plot. I feel like that's a kind of criticism that's lambasted towards pretty much every Batman story after like the 60s, pretty much.
Yeah,
I once saw someone say that Earthshock could be better with the Daleks in it. Well, not better, but it would be the same. But I don't think that shouldn't be. It
would certainly be interesting, but definitely not the same.
I think even if it was the same with the Daleks, I think it shouldn't be viewed as a negative just because it could be. I think that's a hypothetical situation. I think it's also like, having the Cybermen like the Daleks for the sake of the plot can make for an interesting Cyberman story in its own right. I think it's not necessarily the most negative thing out there, or like a negative at all. I think just because it could be the Daleks doesn't mean it should be.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of the Cybermen, what do we think of the new paint designs? the paint jobs.
Think it's an interesting.
It's
choice.
interesting. I think I prefer the normal Cybermen in that color scheme, but I think the Cyber leader. I prefer his handlebars with the silver rings, because with it all black, it kind of looks a bit. It doesn't look as good to me. I don't know.
I quite like the black handles, but overall, I do agree with you.
Yeah,
I do prefer the original paint job, the less shiny Silver Cybermen. But I do quite like Silver Cybermen in this as well. I think it's great for a one-off. I think it really works.
I mean, if you look at them in attack, they are falling to bits. Like, some of them don't even have. I think is it part 2? I don't know. It's a 2-part story. With the Cyberman that just walks over and he's got his head slightly crooked, and they just haven't the one with duct tape on it as well. That's you know, but yeah. So the Cyberman quite good in this.
What do you think of Nemesis as a character? Kind of a character, kind of a living weapon.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's an interesting element of the story. Obviously, it plays into the title of it, but it's interesting. They keep talking about it, and it kind of reminds me of Pyramid to Mars in a way, because they're going on about it all the time, and then there's this big build up, and then you do eventually see it, and then it sort of plays into the ending of the story. So I guess actually I never really thought of that before. It is kind of similar to Pyramids of Mars in a way, in that sense. I mean, Pyramids of Mars is one of my favourite stories. So,
and I mean, the concept of a sentient weapon has, it's been around. It's been used in Doctor Who quite a lot. It was used previously in that season with the Hand of Omega being sentient.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, there are a lot of similarities to the Hand of Omega. There's a lot of similarities between Remembrance and Silver Nemesis. They still stand apart in their own right.
Yeah.
And they do have their differences. And I don't think them being in, of course, I said earlier, them being in a different season would, I said earlier that it would benefit them, but looking back in retrospect now, having them kind of in the same season does allow for some connection there. It kind of, when you look at it, it's kind of like, oh, this is a season about the Doctor kind of throwing away sentient weapons or weapons in general.
Yeah, like this season particularly. I mean, a little bit in season 26, sort of, but in this season he really goes out to destroy governments and like Inhabitants Patrol and go destroy races. In Remembrance he sets out to destroy the Daleks. In this, it's hinted that he probably does go out to destroy the Cybermen, but it's more painful.
The one thing about the McCoy era that doesn't get talked about enough is, we always hear about Ace's arc, but I think the 7th Doctor has a coherent arc as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That was definitely planned. I think a lot of people say that, he's too different from season 24 to season 26. But if people actually watched the series, season 24, the end of Dragonfire.
Oh yeah, Dragonfire. He seems particularly on that road.
He manipulated Kane into believing that he still has a species, only to turn it around on him, and denounce his hopes, denounce that there was ever any possibility that he'd find his people again. And then, of course, you have, I believe it was in Paradise Towers, where he turns around to the guard and says, "Take my life." There are particular moments in season 24 that stand out as like him being. I think
that was really when McCoy got his own way that those moments came out, because he wanted the Doctor to be like that. If you see it in documentaries and things, he wanted his Doctor to be as it eventually became. Well, perhaps after, but he wanted it to be the darker character.
And then when you have like season 25, it's kind of the midway point, which is very intelligently woven into his arc. I think you have a lot of darkness in him in Silver Nemesis and Remembrance, but you still have the cosmic clown side. While in season 26, that's kind of when you get full on dark. You still have the more ridiculous moments, but then you kind of
Yeah.
Battlefield, while you have those kind of ridiculous moments as well, it's about the Doctor
Yeah.
being murdered, and
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people say that season 26 is too dark. Well, I don't find it
I
that
disagree.
way.
I think it is one of my comfort seasons actually.
Oh
I
yeah,
watch it.
certainly. Yeah. I mean, Ghostlight. I mean, people say it makes no sense, but actually, I quite like it, and it does kind of in repeat viewings, it does make more sense, which is a sign of a good story to me.
Oh yeah.
And so, speaking of the similarities between this and Remembrance, my main problem with this story is that as soon as we start the story, to me, it kind of feels like we're partway through one. Like, all this stuff is starting already. And I know in Remembrance, we do get thrown into the action pretty much straight away. But we do have the pre-titles, which maybe if this story did have a pre-titles, I mean, it would be another similarity to Remembrance, but maybe if this story did have a pre-titles, it wouldn't feel so much like that. I don't know what the pre-titles would be, but
there's a lot to this story, and it does feel kind of it feels out of place, out of order, kind of. It can be quite a lot to get used to with the constant escalations. Even though I do like the amount of villains and I like the amount of characters, I think it works well. I also think it could be longer, which is another thing that kind of adds to your thing, because like it being it kind of feeling like the middle of an adventure. If there were more parts, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there was obviously a lot of stuff cut from this, and there's a lot of stuff cut from all of the season 25 and 26 and 24. Well, all of the McCoy era. There's a lot of stuff cut, and actually I haven't watched the deleted scenes. I really should do, but obviously all the deleted scenes were put back in for the extended VHS version, and I hope when this does eventually come out in the collection Blu-rays, we get an extended cut, and we get that one as well. Because I reckon I don't know whether there was. I would assume there was quite a bit cut from the start, so there was a bit more set up to go off. But as you say, if this had an extra part like Ghostlight, I think it would seem to flow a bit better, and there would be a lot more time for characters to build up and villains to come in, but not feel like they've just come in. You know, the sort of woven into the plot a bit more.
What was I about to say? I was gonna I think that's the one thing I love. That's the main thing I love about the season 24 collection box set, is that we got the extended cuts.
Yeah,
I think it really helps with all those episodes and makes them like 10 times better. And the episodes already were,
I have to confess. I don't have it. I need to get it.
Oh, you need to, because
I think it's still available on HMV. I shouldn't have said that, but I need to get it.
Especially with the Delta and Abandonment, because I do absolutely love that story.
I love Delta. Delta's really good. I really like Delta.
So, but with the extended cut, it's just all the more better. And that was me thinking a 10 out of 10. You couldn't get more 10 out of 10, but it's probably my favourite from that season, alongside Paradise Towers, which is also quite good.
Yeah, Paradise Towers is good.
Yeah, I think I think overall, I like Silver Nemesis. It's a good episode. It's enjoyable. It's got a lot of problems, but I think
you can look past those problems and enjoy the episodes. I'd say that as well. Out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh, I'd probably give it. I don't want to give it too high, but I'd probably give it a 7.
7. Yeah, that seems about right to me. 7, 6.5, 7. Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, that's probably what I'd rate it out of 10. Yeah. Not the best, but it's watchable, entertaining, everything a Doctor Who episode should be.
Yeah, everyone seems to be having fun in this story, which is good.
Yeah. There's thoughts on it.
Brilliant.
Really have much more to add apart from what I've said. Really.
Brilliant. Well, where can everyone catch you?
So I have my YouTube channel, which is Raslam Productions, which I've already referenced in the beginning. That is where I put most of my stuff. I also have a Twitter, which is Rassilon Productions brackets my actual name, but you can just type in Rassilon Productions and you can find me. And I just put random stuff on there and just talk and promote projects on there. So if you want to keep up with what I'm producing, just look at my Twitter. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a wonderful.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Maybe we'll see you on the channel again sometime soon.
Yeah. I'm always happy to collab. I'm always happy to review episodes and be a part of this. So thanks for having me. It's been brilliant.
No problem. Well, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next week for the review of The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Brilliant one. Bye-bye.
Bye.